And welcome to another edition of Dropping Dimes Daily Show. I'm your host, Jamison Daigle, and we've been absent a few days since the national championship game, and I thought I'd take a little break, get back to football, get back to basics. Last week we were great. We were 4-0 straight up. We ended up going 2-2 against the spread. Our losses came with a backdoor cover. Christian McCaffrey ruined me. We had it the whole way, and Carolina got a late touchdown there, and the Saints actually held on for a tight 31-26 victories. They're going to move on to face the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll have tomorrow. We'll do another Saints live video, pregame, halftime, postgame. Break it down in 3 different ways. Discuss what happens as Minnesota's advanced, Saints advance, and we'll talk about the NFC Championship game and the postgame. I'll do a video talking about both games for tomorrow. Probably catch it about an hour or two before game time. But then again, like I said, we're going to do a Facebook Live talking about the Saints, recapping the divisional game previous to the Saints between Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Now, that is going to be that Jacksonville-Pittsburgh game. I'm going to have a play on the side, and it is going to be I'm going to call it my lock of the NFL weekend. I'm going to give you my lock of the day today between these two games, but I really feel strongly in that Jacksonville-Pittsburgh game, and I'm going to hand that over to you. I believe that's your gold ticket this weekend. But just getting into it, first of all, in the news today, very sad, somber news in the sporting world. Keith Jackson, the longtime sports broadcaster, spent 50 years in the booth calling college football. This guy was something else. His voice, he's like a Vin Scully. When you hear his voice, you know who it is. He was one of the greats. He was personally my favorite. He kind of brought that Southern kind of a homely boy type, broadcaster. I think he really identified with the listeners and the viewers, and the viewers identify with him. A few favorites that I can remember is he would always, when he get to the SEC championship game, and this is when it was in Birmingham, he would just say something to the effect of, "And welcome, folks, from Birmingham, Alabama." And that was one of my favorite Keith Jackson isms, if you will. And I don't know a lot of you guys may not remember this. If you're my age and above, you will. Is Desmond Howard, the '91 Heisman Trophy winner, had a spectacular 70-yard punt return against Ohio State. And Keith Jackson, when Desmond hit about the 30 to 40-yard line going in, he said, "Goodbye." Gave a little pause, and he said, "Hello, Heisman." And that was the year, like I said, the year Desmond gave the little Heisman pose. That was kind of like the first one, the author of the Heisman pose. But we lost a good one, folks. We did lose a good one. It's not the Rose Bowl without Keith Jackson. It's just not the Rose Bowl without that guy. He was amazing. God rest his soul. He went to go see the Lord yesterday, and prayers go out to his family, his friends, and everybody that's around it. Keith Jackson, dead at 89. All right, folks, we're going to move on to the games today. First game, 3:35 Eastern. I believe it's going to be on CBS. The New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee coming off a big win last week. That was one of our calls. We said Tennessee +9, and I told you don't be shocked if they shock the world last week. Now, that was last week. This week's a very tough task for them. Again, they'll be without DeMarco Murray. They're facing a New England team I'm just going to throw a number out there, 20-4. This is New England's home playoff record. That's incredible. That shows you the pure, just utter domination and why it's so crucial that they get home field advantage in the playoffs. That 20-4 record is ridiculous. And really, those games typically aren't even close, which is why you see this line settling in at around 13.5, possibly get pushed up to 14 at game time. If you're thinking about taking this one, I would get it. I'll probably look at it right now. Do it soon because it's probably going to get up to 14. But anyway, just looking at this game, first we're going to break it down just from a game perspective. Then I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen as far as a total and a side. New England comes in this game 13-3. They won the AFC on a crucial, but I shouldn't say crucial, more controversial play. When Pittsburgh had driven down the field, once again, Roethlisberger hits the tight end. We don't know if it's a catch or not. They call it incomplete. Then after that, Roethlisberger basically throws the game. As he throws an ill-advised pass, it gets picked off in the end zone. There you go. They could have tied it up going into overtime, knotted up at 27. Instead, New England takes it 27-24, which clinches that home field advantage, which is so crucial for the Patriots. Everybody and myself is looking for another rematch, possible rematch here in New England between the Steelers and the Patriots, which will be very interesting to see how that game actually unfolds. But we'll talk about that if that does happen next week. But getting back to this game, Tennessee, again, they're a run-first team. We all know that. If you watched it last week, that's what they did. They finally had a game to play Derrick Henry for 60 minutes, and he proved his worth. He broke about a 60-yard run. He had a lot of 15 to 20-yard runs there, too. They really loosened up that Kansas City defense and led to that last play there with Eric Decker catching the game-winning touchdown pass, putting the Titans up for good, and they took it home 22-21. We did call the under as well. It just ran under that 44.5 as they total for 43. So that was a good call for us last week. But I think Tennessee's going to establish the run again. That's their bread and butter. That they're going to have to do as far as that's concerned. Mariota, again, it's the same recipe for success. Don't turn the ball over. Get into the red zone and make plays. That's what he does when he gets into the red zone. But he does have problems with turnovers. He didn't do it last week, and that's why Tennessee hung tight and was able to get the job done. Now, on defense, here's going to be Tennessee's problem is they can't stop the pass. For some reason, why Kansas City decided to abandon the pass in the second half, that was awful, which is why it led to them dismissing the offensive coordinator. And it was just an awful offensive game plan. They're not going to have that situation again with New England. New England's not going to tank it in the second half. One problem, Rob Gronkowski is going to be a major, major issue for Kansas City. Kansas City, obviously, if you looked at it last week, Tennessee obviously cannot cover tight ends. Kelsey had I want to say it was 4 catches for about 65 yards in the first half and a touchdown. When he got knocked out with a concussion, that's when the wheels basically fell apart. I think that was the game plan to go to him early and often, try to loosen it up for Kareem Hunt. Once Kelsey went out, the passing game went down, which in that case enabled Tennessee to focus on Kareem Hunt. They shut him down, and they were able to take it that way. But I think that Gronkowski's going to have a big day. If he stays healthy throughout this game, you could be looking at 100 yards receiving and a couple scores. I think that the key for New England also on offense is to keep running Dion Lewis. He's one of the hottest backs right now in the NFL. He's been catching the ball out of the backfield. That's not a surprise. That's what he does. But he's just breaking off runs, running hard, running tough, not turning the ball over, and keeping New England's keeping their balanced attack, which is what really keys them. That running game is key to New England's passing game, to be honest. I think they're going to use probably Gillisley's not going to play. I think you're going to see a dose of Burkhead, James White, and Dion Lewis. And I think all three of those guys combined are going to give New England what they need. They're going to keep it balanced. And then New England's going to exploit Tennessee's porous defense. When I look at playoff games and I take a look at how the game is going to go, I look at 3 factors. First one is going to be coaching. The second is going to be defense. And the third is going to be quarterback play. Coaching, this Tennessee matchup, not so fast. Does Tennessee match up quarterback-wise? I don't even need to go there. Tom Brady, against Marcus Mariota, that's not even in a discussion. The greatest of all time against a second-year player, I don't think so. Now, the third Defense, it's a wash. New England's porous against the run. They're decent against the pass. They've gotten better. They were awful early on, but they really kind of shored up that passing defense toward the end. Tennessee, they're just opposite. Great against the run and porous against the pass. So I think when you add those factors up, man, it's just going to be a bad day for Tennessee. The reason the spread is 13 is for a reason. And I think New England scores early. I think they score often. And I think you're looking at a score of about 34-17, I think is what you're looking at. 31-10, something of that nature. Matter of fact, they played last year. And I believe, 33-16 New England. So that's what you're probably looking at today. I think New England advances to the AFC Championship game with a relatively easy game against the Tennessee Titans. But definitely look at the matchup today between Gronkowski and that Tennessee defense, because that's going to really be, I think, a major advantage for New England. So once again, my call on this game is going to be 34-17 Patriots. Moving on to the second game is with Atlanta and Philadelphia. I think Atlanta right now is playing on all cylinders. I said last week that they would take care of business against the Rams. The 6.5 was a gift. Atlanta really dominated on both sides of the ball. Actually, a lot of people, when you look at Atlanta, you think offense, offense, offense. That hasn't been the case this year. Matt Ryan with a split of 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He threw for 4,000 yards this year. But I think it's a different Matt Ryan. It's a different Falcons team. Their defense actually is allowing 60 less yards than last year's NFC Championship team. I think they're led by Deion Jones, who, unfortunately for the Saints fans, intercepted Drew Brees in the end zone in Week 16, that wasn't Week 16, Week 14, which actually saved Atlanta's season. And then, of course, the Saints took care of business 2 weeks later to clinch the division. But anyway, Deion Jones and the young man from Florida in the secondary, Keanu Grant out of Florida, they really, really do well defending the pass. They really do well in terms of keeping you locked in. They're going to give up some deep plays. I think in this game, that's something that's not going to be a factor. I don't think Nick Foles is going to be able to get deep plays. He's not really a deep ball guy. He's more of a 5 to 10 yard passer. And that's a whole other situation on Philadelphia's side is, Foles is just, he did well after Carson Wentz got hurt. He did well in the Rams game, but after that, it's been really shoddy play, man. He was awful in the Raiders game. They squeaked out a 19-10 victory, but Oakland really gave them that game. Oakland had every chance in the world to beat Philadelphia, and they just threw it away. But Nick Foles was, I think he was something like 16 for 33, and a couple picks. He was awful in Dallas. He threw a couple interceptions in Week 17. Granted, they didn't have the starters. Maybe his focus wasn't there, but since he's been there, it's really been an inept Philly offense. The only way I see them winning this game is that they're gonna have to get it done with their solid ground attack. Now they've got a good one. They've got LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi, which between the two of them combined for around 1,200 yards and around 8 touchdowns. It's not dominating, but it's a good running game. It's solid. I think Philadelphia is going to get it. If they're going to get it done today, it's going to be on the defensive side as well as the running game. On defense, they're led by Brandon Graham, the defensive tackle, who I think will have some opportunities to get to Matt Ryan. Atlanta's guards were really overtaken last week. Matt Ryan was sacked a few times. They were able to get some good pressure on him from the inside, and I think that's one thing you can look for. I think the Eagles will be able to get some pressure on it without actually blitzing. They're also led in the secondary by Patrick Robinson. I think you're going to see the Eagles do that. I think they're going to be successful against Atlanta. I think they're going to be able to get to Matt Ryan. I think they're going to be able to get a few sacks. I don't think Matt Ryan's going to turn the ball over. Matt Ryan, in his career, is the third leading efficiency quarterback in playoff history. He completes 70% of his passes in the playoffs, and he doesn't do the stupid mistake. I think that in this game, it's going to be a really low-scoring game. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of offense. I think that field position is going to be key. I think that Devontae Freeman and Coleman will get their opportunities to do some damage in the passing game. I think Philly's going to lock them down, though, as far as running the football. When you look at, what do I think that Philly's going to be able to do effectively? I think that they will be able to run the ball a bit. I think they'll be able to pound it and kind of weaken Atlanta's defense on their defensive line and, really get it done. I think on the run game, they'll be able to get some yards, get some big plays. Now, the key is going to be able to try and open up play action for Foles. I think Atlanta is going to stack the box and try to prevent Philadelphia from running the football. I mean, that's the obvious. But now, of course, to get to my pick, the line right now is 3. The total's 41. I'm going to go, like I've said this from the get-go, is Atlanta's hot. They're ready. They're hungry. They want to get back to that Super Bowl. Philadelphia, with the loss of Carson Wentz, I think it's just too much. I mean, this guy was an MVP. He had 33 touchdowns when he get the ACL tear, and that really hurt Philadelphia, as that really cut them down, and they really haven't been a good team over the last 3 or 4 weeks without Carson Wentz. So I think not having him is going to be a big factor. Close game, tight. But I see Atlanta coming away with a 20-17. I'm going to call it 21-17 is going to be my call. That actually will take you under the total. It also gives Atlanta a 1-point cover. So I'm going to go Atlanta -3. I'll take the under 41. I'll go with New England -13.5, and I'm going to take the over 48. My pick, looking at both games, again, that's not my lock of the playoff weekend, but my lock of the day would be the Patriots -13.5. Again, they're too much. So I'm going 34-17 Patriots, 21-17 Atlanta, as Atlanta will face the winner next week, and New Orleans, Minnesota, and New England will face the winner of Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. Guys, again, it's been great. Like I said, we were 4-0 last week, straight up, 2-2 against the spread. This week, we try to go to a perfect 4-0, straight up and against the spread. But thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe to Dropping Dimes Daily Show. And once again, tune in to Facebook Live tomorrow as we take a look at the Saints and Vikings. Have a good one.